Hey guys, Moneyman300, and here we are. We're getting our C-Class leaderboard cars and builds and tunes out there, and we're going to kick it off with the king of what I think is the king of C-Class, and that's the 2005 WRX STi, the Subaru. This thing's a beast on the momentum tracks. Everybody should have one of these. It's fun to drive. You got that. It does use that rally engine for you guys that are familiar with using that in this game. If not, I'll talk about it as we go and what the benefits of that engine are. But yeah, so cool looking paint job here. I do want to give some credit to the painters here. I think if I go in the car, here back out. I think I'm in here. I think I can do that. I should make it a habit to do this more often. Because there's some cool paint jobs out there, and these aren't my paints. I'm not a painter. I'm not a library guy. So Burnin' Snowman is who I'm using here. So give him some love if you like this. Grab this one. I think it looks pretty cool. I like it a lot. So anyway, this car is a killer momentum car. We're going to be running it on Alps Stad, and that's what it was built for. It's going to run on any of the Alps tracks, the Pragues, any of the momentum type tracks. So this is going to do really well. You'll see that in the leaderboards. You can see which tracks it does well on. So anyway, we're going to run this one live. Pretty confident we could put a pretty good time up there. It's a really good car, really good build. Let's oh whoops, that's not where we want to go. Let's get over to rivals here and let's give it a run. I've already got a time with this car on there when I was tuning it and testing it at 183rd. I think we can run this thing right up in the top 100 though. So let's give it a whirl. We're just going to give it a couple laps here. If we don't, get it right off the bat, it'll give you guys a good idea at least. So we're going to be going up against a Mercedes, it looks like. So the 190E, you can see the WRX-05 and the 190E are the cars to beat on these Alps tracks. The shorter Alps, the Subaru starts to take over. The longer Alps track, the Mercedes does a little bit better. It's just a little bit faster. You'll see that in here. The guy's probably going to be faster down the hill than I am, but I think I can get him up the hill. This car powers through it with this rally engine better up the hill than any other cars. It's made for hill climbs and things like that, so it does really well. Has an interesting power band. So because of the power band that it has, our shift points are going to be different than they are in most cars. We want to keep this thing between 4 and 6, so you're shifting really early. That makes a huge difference in this car, and because of that, we're going to run this car in 5th and 6th gear all the way around, and really 6th gear all the way around the track, with the exception of the first turn. So you'll see that when we get going here. We'll downshift to 5th one time. We will run the complete rest of this in 6th gear. So here we go. Let's get it started. Get our tires warmed up this first lap here. I'm obviously not going to be. This is where you want to shift right in here. You want to keep it in that between 4 and 6 range. Take it easy here. You will sometimes notice a touch of understeer in this car. You just gotta keep it a little slower through the turns, and allow the torque to work for you coming out of the turns. So. I'll let up just a touch. The tires aren't really warm yet. Just to kind of get clean through here. You can see the blue on the tires. It takes almost a lap and a half, really. So we'll see how the second lap goes. But this is a key brake point. Getting that right. See, I held too much speed, and it's going to carry right up the track right there, and you got to let off again. Part of that's the tires. So you keep it right around 100 miles an hour in that area. You'd be pretty good. For those of you not doing miles per hour, kilometers per hour, not quite sure what that equates to. 160 maybe. I don't remember, it's 1.6 is the right conversion rate, or kilometers per hour to miles per hour, miles per hour to kilometers per hour, whichever way you want to call that. So we're running 6th gear all the way around here. I'm going to brake pretty late in this turn. And then get right back on the gas here. Should drive down the track here and then kind of just hold this line right there. There you go. That's pretty good there. I see the tires aren't quite warm yet. Still got one that isn't, but I think we're still pretty close. We've given it a nice little run here. Carried that pretty high. I'm okay with that, though. We're going to come with a good run out of it. Oh, yeah, we're right on him early. Get up in here. Oh, I ran that too high. Gotta let off. Get right back on it, though. You see him zoom in there. Part of that was me making a bad turn there. Part of that is he's just faster down the hill than I am. Too slow again. I was too fast coming in. I felt the car start to push, and I really didn't want to dirty that up. I could have probably pushed that a little harder there, but I can catch him here. Fast, the Subarus are faster through this part of the track. Oh, I skidded just a little bit there. That was going to be really good going up the hill. Still pretty good. It's going to be close, actually. I lost it. Oh, and you can't dirty it there because you're going to dirty that last one. I pushed that brake point too far. You see right there, I came in crooked. God. Oh, I had him too. I was going to beat him down that hill. All I had to do was make a decent turn. And actually, I didn't quite have him. That wasn't even a particularly good turn, but he gets a little squirrely there. So, oh yeah, that would have been, oh, look how close that would have been. All right. Kind of like this high line back down in. You get a real good speed run off of this. That was probably a little higher than I wanted to go. You see I ended up a little further behind him than last time. I did it again. Took a bad line into that twice. You see him get me on the inside. I got to turn in earlier there and not have to let off like that. But better safe than sorry, because I know I can still turn this out. Hang on, don't do it. I had to let off. God, just pushing a little too far up the track there. So this is going to make it a little tougher to get him this time. Get you good steer down in here. Better there. Catch him a little bit going up here, not a whole lot. He kind of gets to the same speed as I get up the top, it looks like. That was not a good turn. Too high. I'm gonna run right up on him here, just because he makes a mistake coming out of that turn. So we're gonna be right on his tail, but not quite enough. A couple places, this is one of them that we could be a little better in. A little earlier shift that time. See if I can get that. You want to, like I said, you can hear it. You can see when I'm shifting. A couple turns I gotta hit. I gotta hit this one. Better. So you didn't quite come out so far on me that time. I still let up just a touch if you were watching the throttle over there, but not much. I was a little slow again, but that's okay. Run it right up on that wall. Held 124 all the way through and up to 125. That's pretty good. Let's just finish this last turn here. Pretty good there. We got him. Oh no, I'm gonna hit the... I had to let off. I was gonna hit the wall. Oh... Still gonna get him, but man, would that have been a good lap. Alright, So we beat him, got down to 134.3 there. That'll put us into the top 100, but oh, I thought I was going to hit the wall there. Or coming off it, I felt it start to push just a little, and I might have been able to make that and just been a little tiny, maybe tiny little scrape, but I didn't want to chance it. Had I already had, if this was, if I'd already ran this lap and I was trying to run another one to beat it, I would have just stayed on the throttle the whole way. And because that was, geez, that probably, I was low 134s. That probably gets me to high 133s. Just on that little let off of the gas. It's huge coming into a straightaway like that. You lose just a tremendous amount of time doing that. So anyway, that's a pretty good run though. Let's see what place that puts us in. It puts us into 81st. So yeah, look at 133.1 is there. We probably would have been in the 133.8-9 range, maybe a half a second faster, maybe not quite. Maybe I'd give it 133.9, which probably is top 50. So definitely, this will run way up there. Way up there. You could just lap this and really just the nuances of I had to let off at the top of the track. I don't have to, but I did, just trying to get a lap like that. If I were to run some more now, I would just be going a lot more aggressive on my run. So anyway, let's go over here and take a look at our build and tune. Get over here, into the car, upgrade, and let's see what we got here. So, all right, first off, we're going to talk about the most important part of this build, and that is the engine. That 1.6 liter inline 4 turbo rally beast mode of an engine. Now, what you see here, so let's take a look at these other engines that you've got, each one of these, and look at your power. So what I'm not so much looking at the torque curve. I'm not as worried about that. What I'm looking at is your power curve. The horsepower out there, more than although in this one, because the torque is so dramatic, it matters also. And where you really want to keep it, if you look in here, is peak is at about, so I think these are 1,000 each. Peak is about 500, but you're losing a little bit of torque there. So at about 5,000. So what you're normally doing is shifting at about 5,000 or about 5,500 is your shift point. That takes you down to 4,000, which is your peak horse. The peak horsepower on this is right about 4K. So on your RPM. So you want to run this in that range. And it's really low, but man, is it a beast when you do that. If you went, and if I would have ran that same race and it felt like I was faster or just as fast, but I shifted down into 5th a couple times, maybe I shifted into 4th in that first turn, it's a second and a half, 2 seconds slower. Huge difference on this thing. So this is what makes this car. You'll see this engine a lot in C and B class. It starts to go and A, and it starts to go away in S. So these three classes are the rally engine is just a dominant engine because of that feature. So you're gonna see that in there. People will start upgrading into this or even this engine when you get up to S class. But anyway, want to point that out because it's a really important part of this, and it's why we had those lower shift points. So no drivetrain swap here. I have built these all-wheel drive in the past, and you can do that. You get a little bit back, but so it's a penalty of about 150 pounds, and you lose that all-wheel drive. And the great thing about the all-wheel drive is that jump off the line that you get a multiplayer, and you don't really want to give that up. So, and I think I even have a build. I have a B-class build and tune I did out there that I don't remember if I did a swap on that. I might have. You can still make them pretty fast. So we're gonna have both the Forza rear and the Forza front aero here. That's a must on this. And then we're going to drive one up on the tire compound. So it's really all you can do, and get a bunch after that. I don't think it grips well enough when you go down there. And I'll show you, there really isn't. So if I get this 15 PI back, that rally engine doesn't have any engine parts in it other than a restrictor plate. So and you can't really take the restrictor plate off and still stay in C class. So there really aren't a lot of options on this build. And I think this is also one of the reasons that this car does really well is it's got the rally engine, and there aren't a lot of ways to build this, right? You're pretty set in how you're going to build this car, just with minor changes and minor adjustments. So I have stock width in the front, and then I believe I'm slightly, and then I have full width in the rear. So this is where you could change it. So maybe, if I didn't feel like it was turning well enough, I could potentially, yeah, there's absolutely nothing I could do there because I don't get any PI back. But And I don't remember if you could get one up here. So there might be a place where you could get a couple PI somewhere else. So some people will drop the brakes. I don't like to do that, to be able to do that. But you can see there's just almost no way you're going to be able to run to here. You might be able to come up with a scenario, changing your wheels, drive lines, some different things that you could get these tires here. And it might not be a bad idea. It's going to help you turn a little bit, but as you saw, the car is pretty good the way it is, but you could play around with that. So our wheels that we've got the, I don't even know how to say, Inkai? Tarmac Evo. They might be heavy wheels already. Yeah, I think they're pretty heavy already. So when you're trying to get 2 PI back by that, I pretty much already have some of the heaviest wheels that are in there. There might be 1 or 2 that are slightly heavier than that. Our rim sizes are all the way maxed on both the front and the back here. See that 20s in both. And let's head over to our drivetrain. I do have the stock transmission in there. You can't go up on that. I mean, there's nothing you can do. That is what it is. And you saw the gearing. The gearing works out perfectly anyway. Because you can run at those lower RPMs, the gearing's really not as important, at least not in C-Class. So we leave that out of there. We got anything here? We have no driveline. You know what I should do is take a look real quick. Free weight, 4 pounds. I'm the worst at going back and looking for these things. So we're going to throw that street driveline on there. That'll give us an extra 4 pounds. Every little bit would help. And we'll have the race differential. Let's head over here to our performance and handling. So we've got the race brakes we're going to have. We should have race, just about everything in here. Race springs and dampers. We're going to have race roll bars. I'm not going to do all of those. Race front roll bars, race rear roll bars. This is different from normal builds, and there's a reason for that. This is a PI play on this one. And to me, so you actually are able to put the roll cage in and go down in PI. Now, you do go up in weight, so it's 100 pounds, but it's really hard to build the car with this. So if you go back and you put this at 502, it's hard to find 2 PI anywhere. I mean, you have to work to try to get this built in with this. Again, it's, you already saw what we had at the driveline. I already got about the heaviest wheels in there. You could potentially drop the rear tires and maybe get something, but you saw when I dropped the rear tire width, it didn't even change the PI. But you have to work at it. It is 100 pounds. It does add, technically add stability to this. I mean, if you look, I don't know what you get, right? It says I'm going to get worse handling, worse braking, which makes no sense because it's lighter, and yeah. Oh yeah, if I go down here, my braking it just makes no sense. But anyway, this is a pure PI play, is all that is. So we're putting that roll cage on there. Don't do it very often, but that's for the PI. And then we don't have any weight reduction here. It's difficult, again, to get that in there, be able to do anything with that. So no weight reduction. And we'll head over to our engine parts, which this is it. I mean, this is all you can do. Restrictor plate. And it is 50 PI, right? No restrictor plate, and remove all restrictors, right? Hey, look, there's our B-class build. I mean, so which to be honest with you, isn't all that far from the truth. But you probably want to put a little more tires on and take one upgrade in the restrictor if you're trying to take this up to B class. So that's all of our parts. Again, there's not a lot of things you can do in here. Once you go to that rally engine, you're limited on your engine parts. You're not going to make any changes there. And then there's only so much you can do in the areas of the tires and the wheels and things like that. So there might be a couple of things you can do. You might be able to get rid of that roll cage, save that 100 pounds, but I would probably stick with this build. So, and I did, and you saw it was a pretty good build. So here we go, 27.5, 28.5. That was just to balance out the tire pressure, not so much the temperature. I'm usually looking at the tire pressure more so than the temperature. It's really hard to get the temperature balance on some of these cars, but the pressure is a little easier. So I got that. Here's our camber, negative 3.5, negative 3.3. We do have 2 degrees of toe front and rear, and this being an all-wheel drive car, kind of a beast to get it to turn appropriately, so that helps with that, and a 5.0 caster angle. One thing I did, I want to talk a little bit about here real quick. I did try some different caster angles, just to play around with it a little bit. So if you do this, whoa, hey, wrong. Let's go down here. Let's do this. Okay, if you do this right here, so I went all the way to 1.0. the car turns significantly better, and I'm not going to go into all the physics around that. You can Google that and look at that. But car turns way better, but it's 2-3 mile an hour slower. Just, I mean, it has a huge difference. I did this. It might have been a mile an hour or two faster, maybe, but it didn't turn very well. So that's almost always I leave it in here. You might be able to come down here and get away with 4. I'm not going to say I played with all of those. I just played with some extremes just to see how much different it would be on this, and that just to give you an idea on that. But 5.0 worked really well, and does, to be honest with you, for most cars. In a grip car, you can get away with dropping that down a little bit and be okay. So anyway, your roll bars, I ended up at 1 and 24. I would really like to have been at 1 and 40 here, to be honest with you, but as I raised those rear roll bars any higher than that, the back end just got too skittish, especially on a track like Alps. It start to float out, and you really need to keep the back end planted on that track to not lose any of your momentum and any of your speed. So some cars will handle the 1 and 40. Now, I almost always go 1 on front wheel drive cars and all wheel drive cars in the front. Just really helps to make them turn. And then it's just a matter of I run as much rear roll bar as I could possibly get away with. And still keep the back end planted in the mid. This really is your mid turn, so this helps you hook up in mid turn, having 1 on the front. And the higher you can run in the rear without breaking loose, the better you're going to be able to turn. For me, anyway, it's just you just oversteer tunes, so increases your oversteer. So you want to get as much oversteer as you can and still be able to control the car. So that's really what I'm doing with the roll bars in an all-wheel drive car. All right, so and then with slightly understeer tuned here. So that's really probably to make up the difference on what we did here. And I did still have the back end floating around a little bit. So instead of playing with the roll bars, I actually tuned it out in the springs by dropping those front springs a little bit. I dropped them all quite a bit. It really is really stiff out of the box. So I dropped those down quite a bit at 664 and 602. I didn't actually mess with the ride height. I did notice a little bit of skittish over a little bit larger bumps, so you may want to raise that a touch. Or, if you're not hitting a lot of bumps, not driving a lot of tracks with bumps, you could drop it all the way down. Rebound, pretty different here, 8.2 and 10.5, and that's really to get the car to turn in. It struggled a little bit with turn in, so I dropped the front rebound, and there's all kinds of debates on, does that really help? I notice a difference. I mean, in real life, maybe that shouldn't work as well that way, but fact is it doesn't make a huge difference. It's minor, but it's enough on the turns that you get in a track like Alps that it really just helps with that turn in. So 8.2, 10.5, I ended up with 1.0 and 1.5 on the bump. Took all the aero out of it. You really don't want that in there. You're just going to lose speed in there, and it's not necessary. 53% balance work for me, and brake force at 2. You're going to see this more often, and this is something that Rock King does. If you watch his builds, he runs 200. I thought I would start trying it, and to be honest, I really like it. So as you play the game more, you find that you're able to, as you would suspect, you get better with your thumbs, you get better with your fingers the more you play. So I'm able to I find myself able to brake a lot quicker with a higher brake force like this because I've played it enough that my brake finger has a lot of control, and I don't want to have to pull very far on that at all. So I'm able to get away with that. Try that. I would say run it as high as you can and not lock up the brakes. The higher you can run your brake force, now this is not using ABS. ABS is a totally different story. Using non-ABS, run this thing as high as you possibly can without locking up the brakes. It's going to cut down on your braking distance. Cutting down on braking distance is going to make your lap times better and going to give you passing opportunities in multiplayer. So that you really want to be able to do that. All right, here's what I ended up with on the what are we on? Differential here. So 20 and 0 on the. I always run pretty low there and pretty high in the rear. Almost tune this thing up to be about more of a rear-wheel drive car, but 20 and 0, I do run 60 and 40 on the rear acceleration, deceleration, and I put 70% of that to the rear. So try to help that car turn, try to get that a little bit of oversteer in there since they understeer naturally. All the all-wheel drive cars do. So anyway, that's the first C-Class leaderboard car build. We got more of those coming up. We got the red and blue for 1 and 2 C-Class. So all kinds of C-Class goodness coming up. I hope you guys enjoy the car. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later.